Alara's hands shake so violently she can barely read the papers Marcus shoved at her before driving away. The legal language blurs, irreconcilable differences, failure to fulfill marital expectations. Petitioner seeks full division of assets acquired prior to marriage. Translation: you get nothing. You are nothing. She's been sitting on this bench for 20 minutes, her phone dead, her bank account, she knows without checking, probably already frozen by Marcus's lawyer. Her mother lives 3 states away. Her friends are really Marcus's friends. The shelters are full this time of year. The sedan appears like something from a dream, too expensive, too clean for this neighborhood. When the man steps out, she notices everything at once. The tailored lines of his coat, the surgical precision of his movements. The way his eyes assess her, not with pity but with calculation. He doesn't introduce himself immediately. Instead, he gestures to the children in the back seat. "They're not mine biologically," he says, his accent faintly European, impossible to place. "They belong to a very complicated situation. They need someone who can love them completely, without the complication of biological children competing for attention or inheritance." Alara's throat tightens. "I can't have—" "I know," Silvio interrupts, and there's something almost gentle in his voice. "That's precisely why you're perfect." He opens the car door, warmth spilling out. Marcus Chen threw away the exact thing I've been searching for. His loss, quite literally, is my gain. Before we dive deeper into this story, make sure to subscribe. New stories unfold here every day. And trust me, you won't want to miss a single one. And don't forget to comment which state you're watching from. I love seeing where everyone's tuning in. The children stare at her. One, a little girl in a purple hat, offers the smallest wave. "I'm not asking you to decide your whole life right now," Silvio continues. "I'm asking you to get out of the cold. The rest we can discuss over something warm. What do you say?" Alara looks at the papers in her hands, the legal dissolution of her worth, then at the children's faces, then at Silvio's extended hand. She leaves the papers on the bench and takes his hand. The compound isn't what Alara expected. She'd imagined something fortress-like, all concrete and barbed wire, the kind of place you see in movies about criminals. Instead, Silvio's estate sprawls across what must be 30 acres of wooded property. The main house, a modernist masterpiece of glass and stone that somehow manages to feel both exposed and impenetrable. Security cameras dot the perimeter like mechanical birds, and she counts at least 4 men stationed at various points, all wearing earpieces, all watching her with the same flat assessment. The children disappear the moment they arrive. One of Silvio's men, introduced only as Pietro, shows her to a guest suite on the 2nd floor. It's larger than the apartment she shared with Marcus, decorated in minimalist whites and grays, with a bathroom that features heated floors and a shower with 6 different heads. There are clothes in the closet, her size exactly, ranging from casual to formal. On the nightstand sits a phone, brand new, with a single contact programmed, Silvio. "You're not a prisoner," Pietro says, his English heavily accented. "But you're not yet trusted. Stay in the main house. Don't wander the grounds alone. Don't ask questions about Mr. Marchetti's business." He pauses at the door. "The children eat dinner at 6. You're expected to join them." Then he's gone, and Alara is alone with the sudden, crushing realization of what she's done. She's accepted shelter from a man who might be, probably is, dangerous. A man whose business requires armed guards and surveillance systems that could monitor a small city. She's traded one cage for another. Except Marcus's cage had bars made of contempt and measured silences. This one has heated floors and a closet full of cashmere. At 5:55 she makes her way downstairs, following the sound of clinking silverware. The dining room is surprisingly intimate, a round table set for 5. The children are already seated, hands folded in their laps, backs straight. They wear matching styles, not uniforms exactly, but coordinated, as if dressed by someone with a specific aesthetic in mind. Alara sits in the empty chair and really looks at them for the first time. The oldest is maybe 7, a girl with dark hair cut into a precise bob, her eyes a startling gray. Next to her, the boy in the orange coat from the car, 6 perhaps, has the same gray eyes, though his hair is lighter, almost ash blonde. The 2 younger ones, twins by the look of them, can't be more than 4. A boy and girl, both with that same unusual eye color, both with the faint suggestion of the older children's features, not siblings, but related somehow. Cousins? Half-siblings from different mothers? "I'm Alara," she says softly, and her voice sounds too loud in the quiet room. The oldest girl speaks first, her English perfect but formal, as if learned from textbooks. "We know. Mr. Marchetti told us you would be staying with us. I am Katerina. This is Alexei, and the little ones are Dmitri and Natalia." Russian names, or Eastern European. That might explain the eyes. That particular shade of gray is more common in certain regions. "It's nice to meet you," Alara tries, smiling. None of them smile back, but Natalia tilts her head, curious. A woman in a server's uniform brings out the meal. Roasted chicken, vegetables, rice. Simple, child-appropriate. The children eat with careful precision, as if dining is a test they cannot fail. Alara watches Alexei struggle to cut his chicken. Without thinking, she reaches over. "May I help?" He freezes, eyes darting toward Katerina as if seeking permission. The older girl considers, then gives a microscopic nod. Alexei slides his plate toward Alara. She cuts the meat into small pieces, the motion automatic, instinctive. Something she used to do for her younger cousins, back before Marcus convinced her that her only value lay in producing children of her own. "Thank you," Alexei whispers, and his small voice cracks something open in her chest. When she looks up, all 4 children are staring at her with identical expressions. Not gratitude exactly, but something more desperate. Recognition, maybe. Or hope. Silvio appears in the doorway watching. He doesn't enter, doesn't speak, but his eyes rest on Alara's hands as she helps Dmitri with his napkin, and something in his expression shifts. Satisfaction, perhaps, or confirmation. Later, after the children are escorted away by a stern-faced nanny, Silvio finally approaches. "They don't talk much," he says, pouring himself a glass of wine he doesn't offer to share. "Not since they came here 6 months ago." "Where did they come from?" Alara asks, then remembers Pietro's warning about questions. Silvio's smile is sharp. Somewhere dangerous. Somewhere they can never return. He swirls the wine, watching it catch the light. "They've had many caregivers. None lasted longer than a month. The children are difficult to connect with." Alara thinks of Alexei's whispered thank you, of Natalia's curious head tilt. "They don't seem difficult. They seem terrified." "Perhaps," Silvio concedes. "Or perhaps they're simply waiting to see if you're like the others. Temporary." He sets down the glass. "Prove you're not, Ms. Chen, and you'll find your place here quite comfortable." He leaves her alone in the dining room, surrounded by the ghosts of careful, silent children who eat like survival depends on perfect manners. And Alara realizes, it probably does. Marcus Chen pours his 3rd scotch of the afternoon and tells himself he's celebrating. Freedom tastes expensive, Macallan 18 neat, and feels like vindication. He'd finally cut loose the dead weight, the defective wife who couldn't perform the one biological function that mattered. His mother had thrown a small dinner party to commemorate his liberation, as she called it. His college friends had taken him to the club, slapping his back, congratulating him on his escape. So why does his jaw ache from clenching? The call comes on day 4, his cousin Derek, laughing too hard, voice slurred from whatever networking event he's attending downtown. "Dude, I just saw your ex, or someone who looks exactly like her, at Michelin-starred Aurelio, with some silver fox type and a bunch of kids. She looked... Damn, Marcus, she looked good. Like, really good." Marcus's hand tightens around his glass. "You're drunk." Alara doesn't know anyone who eats at Aurelio. He doesn't even eat at Aurelio. Reservations take months. "I'm telling you, man, it was her. Different clothes, though. Designer shit. Hair done." She was laughing at something the guy said. Derek pauses. Weird thing. The guy had 4 kids with him. You dodge one bullet just to watch her play stepmom to someone else's litter? Marcus ends the call. Derek's an idiot. Probably saw some random woman and jumped to conclusions. But then his mother calls. Darling, I just had the most peculiar conversation with Patricia Lim from the country club. His mother's voice carries that particular edge she gets when social dynamics shift in ways she doesn't control. She claims she saw Ilara at the symphony fundraiser last night, on the arm of someone quite prominent apparently. Patricia couldn't quite place him, but she said he had that certain presence, old money, she thought, or perhaps European. Mom, Ilara doesn't go to symphony fundraisers. She doesn't even own anything appropriate to wear to... Patricia said she was wearing Valentino, custom Dion, by the look of it. Marcus sets down his glass before he shatters it. That's impossible. I froze her accounts. She has maybe $300 in an old checking account I didn't know about. Well, his mother's pause is surgical. Either Patricia needs her eyes examined, or your ex-wife has found herself a very generous patron. Darling, who exactly was she with before you divorced her? You did have her properly vetted for affairs? The implication lands like a slap. Marcus ends the call and immediately dials his lawyer, Richard Chen, no relation, despite the shared surname, but connected enough to matter. I need you to find out where Ilara is staying, Marcus says without preamble. Who she's with, everything. Richard sighs. Marcus, the divorce is final. Unless she's violated terms of the settlement, just do it. Use whatever contacts you have. I want to know who picked her up from that bus stop. Bus stop? Marcus realizes his mistake too late. Admitting he dumped her like trash doesn't play well, even with his own attorney. Just find her. It takes Richard 2 days and a favor called in with a private investigator who works the gray areas between legal and not. When he calls back, his voice has changed. Careful. Almost worried. Marcus, where exactly did you leave your wife? Does it matter? What did you find? The traffic cameras near that location caught a black Mercedes S-Class sedan, registered to a shell corporation. It took me 3 layers to trace the ownership. Richard pauses. The vehicle is registered to an entity called Marchetti Holdings. Does that name mean anything to you? Marcus's blood goes cold. He's heard that name. Once, at a business dinner where the older partners spoke in careful euphemisms about European interests and private equity groups that operated in spaces traditional banking wouldn't touch. Someone had mentioned Marchetti, not as a competitor, but as something else entirely. Something you didn't compete with. Something you avoided. You're telling me Ilara is with Silvio Marchetti? I'm telling you someone driving a vehicle owned by his organization picked up your ex-wife approximately 20 minutes after you left her at that bus stop. Richard's tone sharpens. Marcus, what the hell did you do? Marchetti doesn't just randomly pick up divorcees. If he wanted your wife, he had a reason. Marcus's mind races. What could Marchetti possibly want with Ilara? She's nobody. A failed wife with no connections, no money, no value. Unless this is about Marcus himself. A power play. A message. I want to know everything about Marchetti's current operations, Marcus says, his voice hardening. His properties, his associates, his vulnerabilities. If he thinks he can humiliate me by parading my defective wife around like some kind of trophy, he's miscalculated. Marcus, listen to me very carefully. Richard's voice drops. Silvio Marchetti is not someone you go after. He's not someone you even annoy. If he's involved with Ilara, you walk away. You forget she exists. You move on with your life. She's my wife. She's your ex-wife. And if Marchetti wanted her, he had a reason that has nothing to do with humiliating you. Men like him don't think about men like you at all. Richard exhales slowly. Take my advice as your attorney and someone who doesn't want to read about your disappearance in the paper. Let this go. Marcus ends the call and immediately opens his laptop, pulling up every contact he has, legitimate and otherwise. Derek's brother works in private security. His college roommate has connections to people who handle discrete problems. His mother's friend's son works in surveillance technology. If Marchetti thinks Marcus Chen is someone who backs down, who accepts humiliation, who lets another man take what's his, he's about to learn otherwise. Alara belongs to him, not because he wants her back, God no, but because she's his to discard, not someone else's to claim. He starts making calls. By midnight, he has the compound's location. By morning, he'll have surveillance. By the end of the week, he'll know exactly what Marchetti wants with his barren ex-wife, and then he'll take it away. The leather handbag sits on Alara's dresser like an accusation. It's cheap, Marcus told her that often enough. The stitching already fraying at the corners, the synthetic lining starting to peel. One of Silvio's staff members, a woman named Irina who manages the household, had suggested disposing of it. "We have better bags for you now, Ms. Chen. Proper ones." But Alara keeps it. Every morning she moves it from the dresser to the chair by the window, and every evening she moves it back. It's the only thing she brought from her old life, the only object that witnessed her sitting on that frozen bench, deciding whether to accept a devil's bargain or freeze to death. She's been at the compound for 9 days when Silvio summons her to his study. The room is all dark wood and leather, walls lined with books in languages Alara doesn't recognize. Silvio sits behind a desk that probably cost more than her wedding, reviewing documents with the focused intensity of a surgeon. He doesn't look up when she enters. "Sit," he says, signing something with a fountain pen that scratches across expensive paper. Alara sits, hands folded in her lap, a habit from her years with Marcus, when stillness was safety. Silvio finally sets down the pen and studies her. "The children's nanny gave notice yesterday. Family emergency in Belarus. She'll be gone for 3 weeks, possibly longer." He slides a leather portfolio across the desk. Inside, you'll find the children's schedules, dietary restrictions, medical information, therapy appointments, and security protocols. You'll also find contact information for their tutors, doctors, and the security team assigned to their protection. Alara opens the portfolio. The documentation is extensive, color-coded spreadsheets, detailed notes in 3 languages, medical histories that read like novels. Katerina has a severe tree nut allergy. Alexei sees a child psychologist twice weekly for selective mutism. The twins have synchronized sleep schedules that require precise timing, or they become inconsolable. "You're asking me to manage all of this?" Alara looks up, something like panic flickering in her chest. "I'm asking you to prove you can," Silvio corrects. "You spent 6 years managing Marcus Chen's household, his social calendar, his dinner parties, his mother's expectations. I've seen the records. You coordinated events for 60 people with multiple dietary restrictions and never made an error." He leans back, fingers steepled. "The children are more important than any dinner party. Show me you understand that. And if I fail? Then we'll have established that sentiment and capability are not the same thing, and I'll make other arrangements." His smile doesn't reach his eyes. "For the children, Ms. Chen, not for you. You're welcome to stay here regardless, but your proximity to them will be adjusted." The message is clear: prove your value or become just another guest in a very expensive prison. Alara takes the portfolio back to her room and doesn't sleep. Instead, she reads every document twice, then begins creating her own system. She learned early in her marriage that Marcus's anger came from disorder, from things he expected to happen automatically without anyone actually coordinating them. She'd become invisible through competence, anticipating needs before they were spoken. The skills translate perfectly. By morning, she's reorganized the schedule, identifying conflicts the previous nanny had been managing through sheer stress. Katerina's tutoring session overlapped with Alexei's therapy by 15 minutes. Someone had been rushing one child to accommodate the other. The twins' music class ended 30 minutes before their lunch, leaving them hungry and difficult. Small problems, easily fixed, but cumulative in their impact. She finds Irina in the kitchen, coordinating breakfast. "I need the twins' lunch moved to 11:30 instead of noon, and Katerina's violin tutor needs to come an hour earlier on Tuesdays and Thursdays." Irina blinks. "The tutor has other students. His schedule? is less important than Katerina arriving calm to her therapy sessions instead of anxious from rushing. Alara's voice is polite but immovable, the same tone she used with Marcus's demanding mother. Mr. Marchetti is paying him enough to accommodate the change. If he can't, I'll find someone who will. Something shifts in Irina's expression. Assessment becoming respect. I'll make the calls. The real test comes on day 3, when Dmitri spikes a fever at 2 in the morning. Alara hears him crying through the walls. The nanny's room is on the opposite side of the house, but Alara's suite is adjacent to the children's wing. She finds him burning at 102 degrees, Natalia awake beside him, terrified but silent. Alara checks the medical file, no allergies to standard fever reducers, and administers the correct dose, then sits with both twins until the fever breaks just before dawn. She doesn't call for help, doesn't wake Silvio. She simply does what needs doing, the way she learned to manage Marcus's occasional business crises, quietly, efficiently, invisibly. When Silvio appears at breakfast, Pietro is with him. The security chief leans close, whispering something while glancing at Alara. You were in the children's rooms at 2:14 a.m., Silvio says, his tone neutral. Explain. Alara meets his gaze steadily. Dmitri had a fever. I treated it according to the medical protocols in the file you gave me. He's fine now. Fever broke at 5:30. I've logged the medication dosage and time. She slides her notes across the table. The nanny's room is too far from the children. If I'm responsible for them, I need to be close enough to hear when something's wrong. Silvio reads her notes. Neat handwriting, precise details, exactly the kind of documentation a competent professional would maintain. He exchanges a look with Pietro, who nods once. The suite adjacent to the children's wing is normally reserved for family, Silvio says slowly. But I'll have your things moved today. It's not until later, when Alara is helping Alexei with his reading, that Pietro approaches. He glances at the children, then at Alara, and his expression, usually so carefully neutral, shows something almost like approval. The last nanny called Mr. Marchetti at 2 a.m. when Dmitri got sick, he says quietly. Woke the whole house, made the boy feel like a crisis. He pauses. You didn't panic, you just fixed it. He's 4 years old with a common fever, Alara replies, tucking the worn leather bag under her chair. It goes everywhere with her now, a reminder of where she came from. He needed medicine and comfort, not theatrics. Pietro almost smiles. Mr. Marchetti chose well. But as he walks away, Alara wonders, did Silvio choose her? Or did Marcus, by throwing her away, simply deliver her exactly where she was always meant to end up? Katerina doesn't play like other children. Alara notices this during the 3rd week, watching the girl arrange her dolls in precise formations on the playroom floor. Not tea parties or imaginary adventures, but careful, strategic positioning, as if the toys are chess pieces and the carpet a battlefield. What are you playing? Alara asks, settling onto the floor beside her. The other children are with their tutors. This stolen hour of quiet has become Alara's favorite part of the day. Katerina doesn't look up. I'm remembering. Remembering what? The girl's hands still. For a long moment, she says nothing, and Alara thinks the conversation is over. Katerina is the most guarded of the 4, the one who watches everything and reveals nothing. But then she speaks, her voice barely above a whisper. The night the soldiers came. She moves a small figurine, a man in a suit, closer to a group of smaller figures. Papa put us in the car. He said we were going on an adventure, but Mama was crying, so I knew he was lying. She pauses, touching the man figurine with one finger. There were loud sounds, like fireworks, but wrong. Alara's chest tightens. Katerina. Then Uncle Silvio was there. The girl moves another figurine into the scene, this one also in a suit, taller. He told Papa something I couldn't hear, and Papa got angry. They yelled at each other. Then Papa handed Uncle Silvio an envelope and told me to be good, to take care of my brothers and sister. Her voice goes flat, emotionless. I haven't seen Papa since. That was 207 days ago. Uncle Silvio, The word hangs in the air like smoke. Mr. Marchetti is your uncle? Alara keeps her voice gentle, non-threatening, the way she learned to speak with Marcus when he was angry, drawing out information without triggering defenses. Katerina finally looks up, and her gray eyes are ancient. Not really. Papa called him that, but Mama said he was Papa's oldest enemy. She returns to her dolls, rearranging them with mechanical precision. I'm not supposed to talk about it. The other nannies got sent away when they asked questions. Alara should stop, should change the subject, distract the child with something else, prove she knows how to follow rules. But she can't quite make herself let go. What was in the envelope your papa gave to Uncle Silvio? I don't know. Katerina picks up a tiny toy car, examining it. But sometimes I hear Mr. Pietro and Mr. Silvio talking when they think we're asleep. They say Papa's name, Constantine. They say he was stupid to challenge the old families. They say we're only alive because of the envelope, because of what Papa knew. Before Alara can respond, Katerina reaches into her dress pocket and pulls out something small, pressed into Alara's hand with the urgency of a secret too heavy to carry alone. It's a photograph, creased and worn from constant handling. The image shows a family, a severe-looking man with Katerina's gray eyes, a beautiful woman with dark hair, and 4 children arranged in formal poses. They're standing in front of a mansion, somewhere with mountains in the background. Everyone is dressed immaculately. Everyone looks haunted. That's us, Katerina whispers. Before. Alara turns the photo over. On the back, in masculine handwriting, Konstantin Volkov, Moi deti должны жить. And a date, 9 months ago. What does the Russian part mean? Alara asks. My children must live. Katerina takes the photo back, tucking it away like treasure. Papa wrote it the night before he gave us to Uncle Silvio. I heard him tell Mama that Silvio was the only one powerful enough to protect us from grandfather's enemies. Your grandfather's enemies? Katerina's expression shudders closed, as if realizing she's said too much. She stands abruptly, gathering her dolls. I should go to my piano lesson. Miss Irina doesn't like when I'm late. Katerina, wait. But the girl is already at the door, pausing only to look back with those prematurely old eyes. You're nice, Alara. Nicer than the others. I hope you get to stay. Her voice drops even lower. But people who ask too many questions about Papa don't stay long. Uncle Silvio says it's for our protection, but I think it's because he doesn't want anyone to know what we really are. What are you? Katerina's smile is small and infinitely sad. Collateral. Then she's gone, leaving Alara alone in the playroom with the sudden, terrible understanding that she hasn't rescued these children. She's been recruited to guard them. The name Volkov reverberates in her memory. She's heard it before, in the background of news reports Marcus used to watch, always attached to words like syndicate and Eastern Bloc and international incident. Konstantin Volkov had been someone significant, someone dangerous, and Silvio Marchetti had taken his children. The question is why? Mercy? Strategy? Revenge? Alara thinks of the envelope Katerina mentioned, of information valuable enough to trade for 4 children's lives. She thinks of Silvio's careful words that first night. They need someone who can love them completely, without the complication of biological children competing for attention or inheritance. Not adoption, not kindness, insurance. These children are leverage against someone, or proof of something. And Alara, the barren ex-wife with nowhere else to go, is the perfect guardian, invested enough to care for them, powerless enough to never threaten Silvio's control, desperate enough to never leave. She looks down at her worn leather handbag, sitting beside her on the carpet. She'd thought she was escaping one trap for freedom. Instead, she'd just traded up to a more expensive cage, one with 4 small prisoners who needed her more than she'd ever been needed before. Alara picks up her bag and walks toward Silvio's study. Some questions are dangerous, yes, but some answers are worth the risk. The package arrives during breakfast, hand-delivered by a courier who somehow made it through 3 security checkpoints. Pietro intercepts it at the door, his hand moving instinctively toward his concealed weapon before he recognizes the logo on the envelope, a high-end stationery company Marcus used for his business correspondence. Ilara sees it happen from the dining room, where she's helping Dimitri practice using his fork properly. The way Pietro's shoulders tense, the way he glances toward her before retreating to find Silvio, she knows somehow that whatever just arrived is meant for her. Silvio appears 10 minutes later, the cream-colored envelope in his hand. He doesn't say anything, just places it beside her plate and returns to his study, his footsteps echoing in the hallway like a countdown. The children watch her with their two knowing eyes. "It's from your old husband," Katerina says, matter of fact. She's learned to read situations the way other children learn to read books. "Uncle Silvio is testing you." Ilara's hands shake as she opens it. Inside, there's a single sheet of Marcus's expensive letterhead and a photograph. Their wedding day, both of them smiling, her in the dress that took 6 months to pay off, him looking at her like she was everything he'd ever wanted. Before he learned her womb was a graveyard. The letter is in Marcus's precise handwriting. Ilara. "I've been doing a lot of thinking these past few weeks. I was angry. I'm sure you understand why. But anger isn't the same as not caring. We had 6 years together, 6 years of building a life, making plans, creating a home. That has to count for something. I spoke with Dr. Morrison. He says there are new treatments, new options we never explored. Surrogacy, adoption, ways to build the family we always wanted. I was too hasty, too focused on the conventional path. I see that now. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are, it can't be what you really want. I know you, Ilara. You wanted a simple life, a real marriage, children of your own, not whatever situation you found yourself in now. Come home. We'll start over. I forgive you for leaving, for embarrassing me in front of my family. I forgive the way you've been parading around town with that man. Yes, I know about it. People talk. But I understand you were hurt, that you were acting out. I'm offering you a second chance. Don't throw away everything we built for some fantasy that can't last. I still love you. Come home." Marcus. Ilara reads it 3 times. And each time, a different emotion surfaces. The first read brings a flood of muscle memory. 6 years of Marcus's voice in her head, telling her how to dress, who to befriend, how to apologize for failing him. The second read stirs something darker. The recognition of every manipulation technique he'd perfected. The clinical, "I forgive you for sins she didn't commit." The assumption that she's acting out rather than making choices. The promise of treatments, as if her value could be restored through medical intervention. The third read brings clarity. He doesn't want her back. He wants to win. But God, part of her remembers when his attention felt like sunlight. When being Marcus Chen's wife meant something. When she had a role that made sense, even if it was killing her slowly. She's still staring at the letter when Silvio returns. He doesn't sit, doesn't offer comfort or reassurance. He simply stands in the doorway, watching her with those calculating eyes that miss nothing. "You've read it 3 times, he observes. That suggests indecision." "It suggests shock," Ilara counters, but her voice wavers. "Does it?" Silvio moves closer, picking up the wedding photograph. He studies it with the detachment of an art appraiser evaluating a forgery. "You look happy here. Young, hopeful. I imagine that version of yourself is very loud right now, reminding you of what you've lost." "I haven't lost anything worth keeping." "Haven't you?" He sets down the photo. "Marcus Chen offers you a familiar cage with familiar bars. You know exactly what kind of misery awaits you there. Predictable suffering is often preferable to uncertain alternatives." His gaze sharpens. "Here, you have comfort, purpose, resources, but you also have 4 children who've watched everyone they trust eventually disappear. You have me, a man whose protection comes with strings you're only beginning to see. And you have questions about Konstantin Volkov, about why I really need you, that I haven't answered." Ilara's breath catches. He knows she spoke with Katerina. Of course he knows. "The weakness of memory is a disease," Silvio continues, his voice dropping to something almost gentle. It makes us believe that past pain was somehow more bearable than present uncertainty. It makes us forget why we left in the first place. He leans against the table, his proximity deliberate. So I'm asking you directly, Ms. Chen. Are you cured? Or do I need to make other arrangements for the children before you decide Marcus's familiar cruelty is preferable to my uncomfortable honesty? What is your uncomfortable honesty? Ilara demands, surprising herself with her own anger. That I'm here to guard leverage? That these children are collateral in some war I don't understand? That you don't actually need me? You need someone powerless enough to control? Yes, Silvio says simply. To all of it. Does that make you want to return to a man who measured your worth by your fertility? The question lands like a physical blow. From the doorway, Katerina appears, still in her pajamas. She shouldn't be here. Her tutor is waiting upstairs, but she's frozen, watching Ilara with desperate eyes. Please don't go, the girl whispers. Please don't be like the others. Ilara looks at Marcus's letter, at his careful promises and calculated forgiveness. She thinks of the apartment she'd return to, the dinner parties she'd coordinate, the doctor's appointments searching for medical solutions to the problem of her existence. Then she looks at Katerina's face. She picks up Marcus's letter and tears it in half, then quarters, then eighths until it's confetti on the expensive table. I'm not going anywhere, she says, meeting Silvio's eyes. But we're going to have a very long conversation about exactly what I've agreed to. Silvio's smile is cold and satisfied. Finally, an honest negotiation. He gestures toward his study. After you, Ms. Chen, let's discuss the real terms of your employment. Katerina exhales, relief flooding her small face. And Ilara follows Silvio into his study, carrying her worn leather bag, ready to learn exactly what price her freedom actually costs. Silvio's study conversation lasts 3 hours. He tells Ilara everything. Konstantin Volkov had been his partner once, then his rival, finally his enemy. The children are Volkov's legacy and his insurance policy, evidence of transactions, offshore accounts, political connections that could topple governments. The envelope Katerina mentioned contains passwords, documents, proof of corruption reaching into the highest levels of power across 3 continents. If anything happens to these children, Silvio explains, that information becomes public, automatically, irreversibly. So they must live, they must thrive, and they must never, ever be connected to my bloodline. Because if they were your heirs, then I'd have every reason to eliminate Volkov's genetic legacy and install my own, Silvio finishes. That's what Konstantin's enemies assume I'll do. That's why they're waiting, watching, hoping I'll make that mistake. His eyes are ice. You, Ms. Chen, are my proof that I won't? A woman who cannot bear children has no genetic stake in the future. Your devotion to them will be seen as exactly what it is, pure guardianship. Now, 2 days later, Ilara sits in a restaurant she could never afford when she was Marcus's wife. Silvio chose the location carefully. Luminara, the newest establishment on the waterfront, all glass walls and public visibility, a place where violence would be witnessed, recorded, career-ending. Marcus's reply to the meeting invitation had been immediate, a time, a confirmation, and barely concealed triumph. He thinks he's won, thinks he's successfully manipulated her into a public reunion where social pressure and familiar patterns will force her back into compliance. He arrives precisely on time, and he's not alone. 2 men flank him, private security types, expensive suits barely concealing their bulk. Marcus has dressed for victory, his best suit, the Rolex she bought him for their anniversary, hair freshly cut. He's performing wealth and control, showing her what she gave up. His smile falters when he sees Silvio. What is this? Marcus stops 3 feet from the table, his security detail tensing. A conversation, Silvio says mildly, sipping wine. Please, sit. Your friends can wait at the bar. Marcus's jaw tightens. But he's trapped by the public setting, causing a scene would undermine the very image he's trying to project. He sits and his security retreats, reluctant. Ilara, Marcus begins, reaching across the table. I'm glad you— Don't touch me, she says quietly, and he withdraws as if burned. Mr. Chen. Silvio sets down his wine. You've been making inquiries about my organization, putting surveillance on my property, threatening legal action to recover your wife. He smiles. Let me save you considerable expense and trouble. Alara isn't your wife anymore, and she's not returning. Marcus's face flushes. This is between me and your ex-wife, Silvio interrupts, who you abandoned at a bus stop in freezing weather because she couldn't produce an heir. He leans forward slightly. Tell me, Mr. Chen, do you understand why I value her so highly? The exact quality you found worthless? Because you're sleeping with her, Marcus snaps, and Alara flinches at the crudeness. No, Silvio says, and his tone could cut glass. Because she's infertile. The word hangs in the air. Marcus blinks, confused. I don't need a lover, Silvio continues, his voice carrying enough to be heard at neighboring tables, another calculated choice. I need a guardian for 4 children who are extraordinarily valuable and extraordinarily vulnerable, children who cannot, under any circumstances, be perceived as my biological heirs. He pauses. A woman who can bear children would always be suspected of replacing them with her own. A woman who cannot represents no genetic threat whatsoever. Understanding dawns slowly on Marcus's face, followed by something uglier, the realization that the very thing he discarded makes her invaluable to someone with actual power. You're using her, Marcus says finally. She's just a glorified nanny. She's a guardian with complete legal authority over assets worth more than your entire family's net worth across 10 generations, Silvio corrects. She's a maternal figure to children who will someday control empires, and she's under my permanent protection. His smile disappears. Which brings us to your problem. I don't have a problem. You put surveillance on my property. You contacted people, unsavory people, about teaching me a lesson. You've threatened what's mine. Silvio's voice drops. Mr. Chen, I've eliminated men far more significant than you for far less offensive behavior. Marcus's security detail shifts at the bar, hands moving toward concealed weapons. Pietro appears behind them, seemingly from nowhere, his presence alone enough to freeze both men mid-reach. This is a public place, Marcus hisses. You can't— I don't need to do anything, Silvio interrupts. Because you're going to walk out of here, return to your diminished life, and never speak Alara's name again. You're going to tell anyone who asks that the divorce was mutual, amicable, and that you wish her well. You're going to delete every file, every photograph, every piece of surveillance you've collected. And if I don't? Silvio slides an envelope across the table. Marcus opens it with shaking hands. Alara can't see the contents, but she watches the color drain from her ex-husband's face. Photographs, documents, something damaging enough to end him. Your business partner, Derek Chang, Silvio says conversationally. The offshore accounts, the fraudulent invoices, the SEC would be very interested, don't you think? So would your investors, your mother's country club friends. He reclaims the envelope. I don't make empty threats, Mr. Chen. I simply present facts and let intelligent people make intelligent choices. Marcus looks at Alara, and for the first time, she sees something other than arrogance or anger. Fear. And underneath it, the dawning comprehension that he never knew her at all. You planned this, he whispers. You. I accepted an offer that gave me value, Alara says, finding her voice. Something you never did. Something you never could. Marcus stands abruptly, the chair scraping. You'll regret this, both of you. No, Silvio says with absolute certainty. We won't, but you might. If you don't leave immediately. Pietro moves closer to Marcus's security, a clear message. Marcus looks between Silvio and Alara one last time, then turns and walks toward the exit, his security scrambling to follow. At the door he pauses, as if considering one final word, one last attempt at control. But Alara is already looking away, toward the window, where snow has begun to fall. Just like the night she chose to get in the car. It's done, Silvio says quietly. Your old life just ended. Alara touches the worn leather bag in her lap, then sets it deliberately on the empty chair beside her, no longer clutching it like a lifeline, but keeping it close like a reminder. Good, she says. Let's go home to the children. The compound feels different when they return. Or perhaps Alara is different. And the place simply reflects her transformation. Pietro holds the door open with something approaching deference. Irina greets her with Ms. Chen instead of the hesitant Miss Alara she'd used before. Even the security personnel stationed throughout the property nod acknowledgement as she passes. Recognition, not as a guest, as someone who belongs. The children are waiting in the main hall, lined up as if they somehow knew this moment mattered. Katerina stands at the front, her gray eyes searching Alara's face for signs of abandonment. Behind her, Alexei clutches his sister's hand. The twins hover close together, mirror images of worry. Alara kneels, setting down her worn leather bag and opens her arms. Katerina breaks first, running forward with a child's desperate momentum. Then Alexei, then the twins. Until Alara is surrounded by small bodies and fierce hugs, and the kind of need that used to terrify her when it came from Marcus, the need to be everything, to never fail, to be enough. But this is different. This need doesn't diminish her. It doesn't measure her worth by what her body can produce. This need simply says, stay. I'm not going anywhere, she whispers into Katerina's hair. I promise. People always say that, Katerina whispers back, but she doesn't let go. Then I'll be the first one who means it. Silvio watches from the study doorway, his expression unreadable. When the children finally release Alara and scatter toward the playroom, their anxiety converted instantly into relief-fueled energy, he approaches. Your belongings have been moved to the east wing, he says. The suite adjacent to mine. It has its own office, separate entrance, and full security access. He pauses. The children's legal guardianship papers are on your desk. I've had my attorneys draw them up. You'll have full medical, educational, and residential authority. In the event of my death or incapacitation, they become your wards entirely. Alara's breath catches. That's practical, Silvio finishes. You're their stability, their constant. That requires official recognition, not informal arrangement. He hands her a small box. Inside is a key card and what looks like a black credit card. Unlimited access to household accounts for the children's needs, security clearance for all properties, and this... He produces a document, placing it in her hands. It's dense with legal language. But certain phrases stand out. Chief Guardian of the Volkov heirs, full fiduciary authority, permanent residency rights. You're giving me power, Alara says slowly. I'm giving you responsibility, Silvio corrects. Power is simply the tool required to execute it properly. His gaze intensifies. Marcus Chen saw you as defective because you couldn't create life. I'm entrusting you with 4 lives because you have no biological imperative to replace them. Do you understand the distinction? You're making me their mother. I'm making you their protector. Mother is a word they'll choose, if you earn it. He turns toward his study. There's a wardrobe in your suite. Irina selected items appropriate for your new position. Your old clothes? I'd like to keep one thing, Alara interrupts, picking up her worn leather bag. The synthetic lining is nearly shredded now, the stitching barely holding. It's objectively worthless. Silvio studies the bag, then her face, understanding flickering in his eyes. The reminder. That I chose this, that I wasn't given it or born into it, that I walked away from comfort for something true. She meets his gaze steadily. I need to remember that choosing the difficult path doesn't mean I made the wrong choice. Something almost like respect crosses Silvio's features. Keep it then. God knows we all need reminders of our motivations. He pauses at the study threshold. There's a staff meeting in an hour. I'm introducing you formally. They'll need to understand that questions about the children's welfare go through you now, not through me. What do I tell them I am? Whatever you choose, guardian, matriarch, the children's advocate. His smile is thin. In my organization, titles matter less than function. You protect them, you raise them, you ensure they survive to inherit what they're owed. That makes you more essential than anyone else in this compound, including me. He disappears into his study, leaving Alara alone in the hallway with her battered bag and her new keys and the weight of 4 children's futures pressing against her chest like a benediction. She climbs the stairs to the east wing, her wing now, and finds the suite exactly as promised. It's twice the size of the apartment she shared with Marcus, decorated in warm neutrals with touches of steel. Professional. Powerful. A space designed for someone who makes decisions that matter. The wardrobe is extensive, tailored suits, casual elegance, clothes that command respect without demanding attention. She runs her fingers over the fabrics, cashmere, silk, fine wool, and thinks of the clearance rack desperation of her married life, buying whatever fit and cost the least because Marcus controlled the money. She sheds the clothes from the restaurant, nice enough, borrowed from the original guest suite, and stands in front of the mirror in her underwear, studying the body Marcus deemed defective. The scars from the medical procedures are still there, the emptiness that doctor after doctor confirmed. But looking at herself now, she doesn't see failure. She sees a woman who survived, who chose, who walked away from everything familiar because 4 children needed someone brave enough to love them without condition. Alara dresses in charcoal trousers and a cream silk blouse, simple but authoritative. She places the worn leather bag on the desk in her office, prominent, visible, a reminder that transformation doesn't require forgetting where you began. When she returns downstairs for the staff meeting, Katerina is waiting at the bottom of the steps. "You look different," the girl says, studying her with those 2 old eyes. "Do I?" "You look like you're staying." Alara kneels, taking Katerina's small hands in hers. "I am staying. Not because I have nowhere else to go. Not because Mr. Marchetti is paying me. But because you 4 need me and I—" Her voice catches. "I need you too." Katerina's careful composure finally cracks. "Really? Really?" The girl hugs her fiercely, and over her shoulder, Alara sees Silvio watching from the study doorway again. He raises his wine glass in a subtle salute, acknowledgement between equals, not master and servant. Alara has spent 6 years trying to become Marcus Chen's perfect wife, molding herself into an impossible standard, failing at the one test that mattered to him. Now, in a compound filled with danger and secrets, and 4 children who carry the weight of empires, she's finally become exactly who she was always meant to be. Not someone's discarded mistake, someone's fierce protector, and that makes all the difference. Snow falls outside Silvio's study window, just as it did the night Alara's old life ended. A year has passed, marked not by calendar dates, but by transformations. Alexei speaking in full sentences now, his selective mutism gradually yielding to trust. Katerina smiling occasionally, her careful guardedness softening into something approaching childhood. The twins sleeping through the night without nightmares, secure in the knowledge that morning will bring familiar faces. Alara stands at the window in a tailored navy suit, her hair swept into a style that speaks of competence rather than decoration. The worn leather bag sits on the corner of Silvio's desk now. She moved it there 6 months ago, a shared reminder visible to them both. He's never asked her to remove it. Below, in the enclosed courtyard, the children play in the snow under Pietro's watchful eye. Katerina is teaching Dmitri how to make snow angels. Alexei and Natalia are constructing an elaborate fortress, their heads bent together in conspiratorial planning. Normal. Almost. "They've grown," Silvio observes, entering with 2 glasses of wine. He hands her one, a ritual they've developed, these late afternoon debriefs where she reports on the children and he shares what threats have been neutralized, what enemies have retreated. 3 inches since summer, Alara confirms. Katerina will need new clothes again. She's shooting up like a weed. Order whatever they need. Irina knows the protocols. Silvio settles into his chair, watching the children through the window. The Italian delegation asked about them again, wanted to know if they'd be presented at the summit next month. Absolutely not. They're children, not political props. That's what I told them. His smile is slight but genuine. Your exact words, actually. You've trained me well. A comfortable silence settles between them. The ease of two people who've learned to read each other's silences, who've negotiated 1,000 small conflicts and emerged with mutual respect intact. I heard about Marcus, Alara says finally, because it's been in the news and ignoring it would be stranger than acknowledging it. Silvio's expression doesn't change. His business partner turned state's evidence, federal charges for securities fraud, money laundering, tax evasion. His assets are frozen. His mother has disowned him publicly. He pauses. He called here last month. Pietro intercepted it. What did he want? To speak with you. To apologize, he claimed, though I suspect he wanted money. Silvio studies her face. I didn't tell you at the time. You were dealing with Alexi's therapy transition. It seemed irrelevant. Alara should feel something, triumph, perhaps, or vindication. Instead, she feels only a distant sadness for the man Marcus might have been if he'd measured people by their character instead of their utility. It was irrelevant, she agrees. He stopped mattering the moment I got in your car. Do you regret it? Silvio asks, and there's something uncharacteristically vulnerable in the question. The choice you made? Alara looks at the children below. Katerina has convinced all 3 siblings to join her angel-making, and they're creating an entire army of snow angels, laughing at something Pietro said. The sound carries through the window, pure, uncomplicated joy. Every day I wake up here, Alara says slowly. I make the choice again, and every day it gets easier. Because of them? Because of who I am with them. She turns to face him fully. Marcus wanted me to be an incubator. A decorative wife who produced heirs and managed his social calendar and disappeared into the background of his ambitions. I spent 6 years believing that was my only value, what I could create from my body. And now? Now I protect 4 lives that aren't mine biologically, but are mine in every way that matters. I make decisions that shape their futures. I'm trusted with power because of my competence, not despite my infertility. Her voice strengthens. Marcus discarded me for being barren. You valued me for the exact same reason. The difference isn't the fact, it's the man doing the evaluating. Silvio raises his glass in acknowledgement. You've exceeded every expectation, Alara. The children are thriving. The household runs flawlessly. Even my most skeptical associates have accepted that you're not a liability, you're an asset. I'm not an asset, Alara corrects gently. I'm a person who found her purpose. Fair distinction. He stands, moving to the window beside her. Konstantin Volkov's enemies have mostly withdrawn. The information he left remains secure. In another year, perhaps 2, the children will be safe enough to live more publicly. School, friends, normal lives. And my role? Continues if you want it to, or evolves if you prefer. Silvio's gaze is steady. You're not trapped here, Alara. You never were. You can leave at any time, take a settlement, start over. The children would survive. They'd miss you, but children are resilient. Alara thinks of Katerina's nightmares, the ones that still come occasionally, of Alexi's habit of checking that she's still there before he falls asleep, of the twins' fierce hugs whenever she returns from even brief errands. They'd survive, she agrees. But they'd be damaged again, and I'd be... She stops, searching for the right words. Diminished. They've given me something I never had with Marcus. What's that? A reason to be strong that has nothing to do with proving I'm not broken. Outside, Katerina looks up at the study window and waves. Alara waves back, and the girl's smile is pure sunshine. I'm staying, Alara says, certain. Not because you need me, though you do. Not because the children need me, though they do, but because this... She gestures at the compound, the children, the life she's built from the ashes of her discarded marriage. This is where I choose to be. Silvio nods, satisfied. Then welcome home, Alara, permanently. She picks up the worn leather bag from his desk, running her fingers over the frayed stitching one last time. Then she walks to the fireplace and places it gently in the flames. Silvio raises an eyebrow. The reminder? I don't need it anymore, Alara says, watching the synthetic material curl and burn. I know who I am now. I know what I chose. Carrying evidence of my lowest moment doesn't make me stronger. It just keeps me tethered to the woman who needed rescuing. The bag burns completely, leaving nothing but ash. And now? Silvio asks. Now I'm the woman who does the rescuing. Alara straightens her suit jacket and heads for the door. The children will be coming in soon. Dmitri needs help with his reading and Natalia wants to show me her piano progress. She pauses at the threshold, looking back at Silvio, this dangerous man who saw value where others saw deficiency, who offered purpose where others offered pity. Thank you, she says simply. For the car, for the choice, for seeing me. Thank you for getting in, Silvio replies. Alara descends the stairs to meet the children, her footsteps sure, her purpose clear. Outside, snow continues to fall on the compound, blanketing everything in white, covering the past, creating space for new footprints, new paths, new possibilities. She opens the door to the sound of children's laughter and cold air, and the future rushing in. And she smiles, because for the first time in her life, she's exactly where she belongs. Thank you for staying with me till the very end of this story. Every view, every comment, every moment you spend here keeps these stories alive. If you felt this one, make sure to subscribe and let me know you watched to the end.